You tap the icon without thinking. The feed refreshes, and nothing really changes. Same faces, same outrage, same empty little dopamine promise wrapped in a red dot. But something in your chest tightens anyway. Your thumb hesitates over a notification you don't remember requesting. You don't open it. You just look at it for a moment too long, as if the weight of that tiny decision requires a full exhale. The brain is not built for this many choices in succession. It's not tired in the way muscles get tired. It's something quieter, a fog, a reluctance, a slow withdrawal of the part of you that decides. It's your prefrontal cortex pulling back, conserving energy like a dimming screen. Every micro-choice delete, scroll, reply, ignore draws from the same glucose-hungry circuit that decides what matters. And when you drain it on what to watch next, what to mute, what to click, there's less left for the things you actually need to resolve. The phone doesn't care. It just keeps offering. Infinite menus, infinite paths, all of them algorithmically smooth. So you never hit a wall, never feel a natural stop. That's not freedom. That's a labyrinth with no exits, and your brain is the one burning fuel to walk it. And the architecture knows this. Infinite scroll wasn't built for your convenience. It was built because a pause, a single moment of stillness, gives your prefrontal cortex a chance to reassert itself. To ask asterisk, do I actually want this? Asterisk, they can't have that. So the feed has no body. The autoplay has no silence. Every endpoint is removed. Every natural stop sign erased, forcing your exhausted circuitry to keep making a choice that isn't really a choice anymore. It's a reflex. Swipe. Next. Decide again. The same neural machinery that once helped you navigate actual threats now burns out on whether to watch a 15-second clip of a stranger baking bread, and you don't even like bread. The cortisol isn't from the content, it's from the switching. Each shift between apps, between tabs, between identities, work self, social self, anxious self demands a small reorientation of your working memory. The brain treats these interruptions like unfinished tasks. They linger. They stack. By midday, your mind is holding dozens of open loops, all of them whispering for closure, none of them receiving it. That's the real exhaustion. Not the hours spent, but the number of times you had to start over inside your own head. You feel heavy, indecisive, oddly hollow, and you assume it's aging. It's not. It's a cognitive debt, and the interest compounds every time the notification pings. You catch yourself staring at the ceiling with your phone in your hand and no memory of unlocking it. 3 apps deep, and you can't recall which one you wanted. The circuitry that once guided you through actual forests is now lost in a grid of identical rectangles. What's happening in that moment isn't laziness. It's a phenomenon called decision avoidance. Your brain, faced with yet another set of meaningless micro-choices, defaults to the path of least resistance. The basal ganglia take over. Automatic pilot. Swipe, scan, swipe. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, which usually flags conflict and nudges you toward resolution, has gone quiet. It's conserving resources. You're not choosing anymore. You're just moving. Later, when someone you love asks a simple question asterisk, what do you want for dinner? Asterisk, you feel an inexplicable surge of irritation, not at them, at the question itself, at the need to decide one more thing. It's not that you don't care. It's that the well is dry. The same neural fuel you burned through on 100 invisible decisions is now completely absent for the one choice that actually involves another human being. You end up saying asterisk whatever you want asterisk, and it sounds like indifference. But it's exhaustion, pure, undiagnosed, perfectly logical cognitive exhaustion. And the night ends with you silent on the couch, scrolling again, because scrolling doesn't ask anything of you except your time. Your brain has a peculiar way of telling you it's overloaded, and almost nobody recognizes the signal. It's not a headache. It's not a dramatic crash. It's a very specific kind of blankness, a microsecond of hesitation before you can remember why you walked into the kitchen. Neuroscientists call this cognitive bottleneck. Your working memory has a hard limit, somewhere around 4 items at a time, and every app icon, every unread count, every half-finished thought occupies one of those precious slots. When the slots are full, bits start falling out the edges. You forget words mid-sentence. You lose your keys. You stand in the hallway, bewildered, blaming your sleep when the real culprit is a brain clogged with digital debris it never asked to carry. The most uncomfortable part isn't the forgetting. It's the guilt that follows. You assume this must be a personal failing, a lack of discipline, a weak mind, the creeping inevitability of getting older. But the neurobiology tells a different story. Your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for organizing priorities, literally fatigues like a muscle after repeated use. Functional MRI studies have shown it metabolizes glucose at an accelerated rate during decision-heavy tasks. When that glucose supply runs thin, executive function degrades. You start avoiding complex choices. You gravitate towards simple, low-cost rewards. Sound familiar? The entire digital economy has been sculpted to hand you those low-cost rewards while your mental energy leaks away into the cracks. You'd think the brain would eventually learn, but learning requires a clear signal, and this environment never gives one. The reward isn't the content, it's the asterisk, maybe asterisk, the possibility of something new, something that might spark, something that might justify all the scrolling. Dopamine spikes not when you find it, but when you anticipate the finding. The feed exploits this with surgical precision, variable rewards, unpredictable timing, the slot machine logic buried under clean design. Each refresh is a pull of the lever, and the brain, being a pattern-hungry machine, keeps chasing that tiny hit of expectation even when the actual outcome is hollow. You don't remember the last 10 things you saw, but you remember the feeling that maybe the next one would be worth it. That's the trap. The system isn't giving you information anymore. It's giving you noise dressed as importance. Your midbrain, the ancient circuitry that once kept you searching for food across vast landscapes, now directs that same persistence toward an algorithmic void. There is no satiation point. Unlike a meal which triggers leptin and signals fullness, the digital stream offers no chemical off-ramp. You just stop when something external interrupts you, or when the fatigue is so heavy that your body forces a shutdown. By then, the reservoir of self-regulation is empty. You make worse decisions. You lash out. You forget your own priorities. The tragedy isn't that you're weak. The tragedy is that the architecture was designed to exhaust precisely the part of you that could resist it. There's a moment, usually late, usually when the screen is the only light left in the room, when you feel your body trying to warn you, a tightness behind the eyes, a shallow breath, a vague nausea that you can't trace to anything you ate. This is the insula, the part of your brain that maps internal bodily states, trying to push a signal through the noise. It's saying something simple, stop, but you've been trained to override that signal since the very first smartphone you owned. The discomfort is interpreted not as a biological limit, but as a sign you should relax, and so you scroll more. The irony is almost cruel. The very mechanism that could protect you has been reclassified as just another feeling to numb. What makes this different for a brain that wasn't born digital is the baseline. You remember a time before this. Your nervous system built its resting state in a world of pauses, waiting for a bus with nothing to look at, staring out a window, letting thoughts drift without a destination. That wasn't boredom. That was the default mode network doing essential maintenance, consolidating memory, integrating identity, processing emotion in the background. Now that network rarely gets a chance to fully engage. Every micro gap in your day is plugged with input. Every silence is filled before it can become reflection. The result is a mind that has forgotten how to be alone with itself and grows anxious when the stream stops. That's not a moral failing. That's a reconfiguration of your most private cognitive landscape by forces that never asked your permission. The more exhausted you become, the stranger your behavior gets. You open the weather app, close it, open it again. Not because you forgot the forecast you saw at 3 seconds ago, but because the gesture itself has become a kind of punctuation. You start avoiding messages that require more than a sentence. You hear your own voice go flat in conversation. These are not quirks, they are tiny surrenders. The prefrontal cortex, depleted, begins to cede control to older, more impulsive structures. The amygdala, the striatum. Your emotional regulation thins. A minor inconvenience, a slow-loading page, a misunderstood tone in a text feels disproportionately sharp. You snap or you retreat. Neither reaction feels like you. And in a very real sense, it isn't. Perhaps the quietest tragedy is this. You were never supposed to process this much. Your brain evolved to make a finite number of consequential decisions each day. Where to gather, when to rest, how to read a face across a fire. It never anticipated a world where a single hour could demand hundreds of trivial evaluations. Each draft is urgent, each fighting for your limbic system's vote. What you call fatigue at the end of the day is actually a kind of mourning. The mind is grieving the loss of silence it was never told it deserved. No one will fix this for you because the system is built on your depletion. The architecture that exhausts you is profitable. Your clarity is not. Sleep will help. Tomorrow will feel lighter, but the stream will still be there, waiting, bottomless, infinitely patient, ready to take the first decision you give it and turn it into a underworld. You check it again, still nothing, except this time you notice your own reflection in the black glass, and for half a second you don't recognize the face staring back. It's not fear. It's not sadness. It's just vacancy. The expression of someone who has been asked to decide too many things that didn't matter until the part of them that decides what does matter began to quietly power down. You set the phone face down on the table. The silence in the room feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. You resist the urge to turn it back over, for now. But the notification light blinks once softly, and something ancient in your brain, something that survived ice ages and predators and every form of human peril, leans forward in its chair, waiting for your next command.